Now, we need to be clear. Yes, let's start with the yes or no. I'm trying to be respectful, but you're not going to do what you want to do on my time. Yes or no, or you can say I'm not going to answer it. Now move on.
Number 3.
Okay, so let the record show that he refuses to answer a question. No, we're not going to do that with me. We are not going to do that with me.
Congress Joyce, former chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, senior member of House Financial Services, just refused to let Scott Bessent run out her clock. Her question was simple and required only one word: whether Treasury would release the money for community development financial institutions. The CDF is that finance affordable housing, money that had been frozen for a year while applications sat pending. Bessent tried to filibuster with bureaucratic language. Joyce stopped him cold, laying out his options: answer yes and then explain, answer no and say why, or decline and let her move on, but not consume her time with fog. When he tried to talk over her anyway, she drew the line that defines the clash, telling him plainly they were not going to do that on her time. And when he still would not answer, she made him own it, putting on the record that he refused to answer a question squarely within his own authority. Watch this. If you want to support the channel and get exclusive videos, kindly hit the join button below. That's how we keep this going.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member, and to the witness. First, let me start by saying that I am certainly concerned about the direction of this country, this Treasury, this administration, and this president. I believe that our democracy is under attack, as well as CFPB, the Federal Reserve, CDFIs, HUD, and the list goes on and on. So I'd like to start with a question on community development financial institutions, or CDFIs as we refer to them, which you've played a key role in economic development. As a matter of fact, in your one-page testimony, you mention economic development or growth or security almost a dozen times. You also have stated promoting economic growth and economic security is essential to ensuring financial stability. Economic growth strengthens housing, business, financial institutions, so forth and so forth. Nationwide, CDFIs finance more than 45,000 affordable homes. However, applications for CDFIs fund programs have been pending for almost 12 months or more, and except for some CDFI funds for administrative costs, none of the FY25 program funds have been allocated. Last fall, CDF Fund issued a supplemental application to CDFIs to ensure that they were in compliance with the executive orders issued by the administration, but funds still have not been dispersed. Now, my question to you, are there plans in place to release monies to CDFIs so they can continue to finance affordable housing projects? That's a yes or no. If yes, when? If no, why not?
Treasury has been working to implement the CDFI funds programs as required by law. Upon apportionment of appropriated funds, Treasury will be
Is this going to be a yes or no?
Program awards.
Mr. Secretary, no. I'm going to abide by the chairman's rules, but I have some rules. You can say yes or no, and then if you say yes, you may continue to give that support. If it's a no, then you tell me why not. And now we need to be clear. Yes, let's start with the yes or no. I'm trying to be respectful, but you're not going to do what you want to do on my time. Yes or no, or you can say I'm not going to answer it. Now move on.
Number 3.
Okay, so let the record show that he refuses to answer a question. No, we're not going to do that with me. We are not going to do that with me.
Ask it. It's the gentlewoman's time from Ohio.
Now, you opted for number 3, so you get to hear my wrath that you refuse to answer a question under your authority and what this administration, and yet you've talked about the value of housing And you're not releasing the funds, and I want the record to be clear on that. So let me move on. Mr. Secretary, I've asked you, as your predecessors, Democrats or Republican, Jack Lew, Mnuchin, Janet Yellen, and you a year ago, about putting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. We started this process in 2020. At that time, Jack Lew said it would take 4 years. I sent you a letter. Do you know what your response was to me?
I haven't seen the letter, ma'am.
Well, you answered the letter. So now I was given a chance to help you. You responded to my letter just recently because you know I drilled you on this. But now you responded to tell me in a few words, it's a complex process. So that's not really an answer. We know it's a complex process. Your Republican predecessor said the same thing, but he went on to support it. So it was supported by 3 people before you. It was scheduled for 2020. Then it got backlogged, because it's a complex process, to 2028. The last Republican said we would be on target to do this. So now my question to you is, why is it not on target? And why are you not engaged in this process? Part 1. Part 2, do you know who is over the Department or the Bureau of Engraving and Printing? Do you know who that person is?
Sorry?
Do you know who is over the Bureau of Engraving and Printing?
I am.
You run it?
The Treasury
You run it?
The Treasury Secretary.
Be careful now.
Treasury
Do you run the Bureau?
Gentlelady's time has expired.
Then let me ask him to put it in writing, because he doesn't run it. It's appointed by him, and it's Patricia Collins. So let the record show that he was incompetent in answering the question.
Gentlelady's time has
Now
expired, and I invite the Secretary to respond to your detailed question about that you proposed on the bill in writing. Chair recognizes the ranking member of our Financial Institutions Subcommittee, Dr. Foster from Chicago. You're recognized 4 or 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to our witness. I mentioned in my opening remarks our recent letter to FSOC asking them to look seriously at the risks of the deflation of the AI circular investment bubble, which is something you obviously read about every time you open up any financial journal anywhere these days. I understand there was a similar letter sent recently by the Senate Democrats that received a similarly dismissive response, basically recognizing that, yeah, this is part of what we're supposed to be doing, but provided 0 specifics on what you're actually doing. So how many people do you have that are actually assigned to looking at the risk of this circular financing, these off-balance sheet entities, the securitization, all of the parade of terribles that wrecked our economy last time and are looking to threaten it again? So how many people are actually working on this, and when can we expect to hear from what they've concluded?
Again, we are constantly evaluating.
How many people? How many people? Could you answer my point? How many people are actually working on that problem?
That it is an all agencies. It is an all agencies effort.
No answer. Okay, I understand. They're not willing to give me a number on who's actually working on it. And when do you?
I could say 2,000, but that wouldn't be correct.
I don't say it wouldn't be.
Because some people may devote an hour a day, some people may devote 80 hours a week.
All right. When can we hear something specific? When can we expect to hear something specific?
In the interest of getting back to you and a change in tone, I am happy to send you a reply.
Okay, I would appreciate something with a lot more detail than something we got from the under assistant acting, whatever it was. All right. Also, last time we spoke, I asked you a simple question that I didn't get an answer to, which is, does this administration support a strong dollar policy or a weak dollar policy? And frankly, as far as I've been able to tell, you're just all over the map on this. So could you answer the question just simply, do you support a strong dollar policy or a weak dollar policy? And how would you, score your, whichever way you're trying to go, how are you doing?
We always support a strong dollar policy.
Okay, that's interesting because, as last time we spoke, I presented a couple of graphs which presented the interesting fact that every time you put a Republican in charge in the presidency, that 2 things have happened: that the dollar has gotten weaker and that manufacturing employment has dropped. And this has happened just, during every Republican president in our lifetime, and the reverse has happened every Democratic president. The dollar has strengthened, actually achieved your objective instead of just talking about it. And since the time of that, actually, I think this plot here was the one we had then when the dollar was only 8%. I think it's down about 10.5% now, so you're continuing down the traditional path.
I'm sorry, which index are you using
DXY.
for the dollar?
I think it's DXY year on year.
Yeah,
and I think it's, the last time I looked at it, it was roughly down 10.5%.
And you have the president on there, but under President Clinton, it would be.
I'm not talking about.
It would be my belief that it was Speaker Gingrich and what he did.
I was just talking about the president who has control.
Working with the Clinton administration together.
I understand.
It's Dr. Foster's time.
Yeah. But you agree it is a historic fact that during those presidencies, manufacturing employment dropped and the dollar got weaker during Republicans without exception.
I haven't seen the data, so I can't agree with
I
you.
presented it to you on a graph. It's my understanding, actually, that later on in that hearing, after I'd left to attend a different hearing, that you said some rather negative things about the data, and that as a finance professor, that you would have, I think, given it an F, was, I believe, your word. And so that, all right, so now I'm not a finance professor, I'm a manufacturer, okay? But I understand that the first rule of a manufacturer is you don't piss off your customers, which seems to be something that your administration just revels in doing, internationally especially. And so I think that it's easy for me to understand why manufacturing employment has continued to drop. That ever since Liberation Day, we have seen a continuous decline in manufacturing employment, which was one of your number one promises.
Congressman, as a manufacturer, you would know that I can't snap my fingers and create factories. So there is a building process that is well underway. I could send you the chart on the factory groundbreaking.
I understand, and the fact that we have been historically a low tariff nation is, I believe, responsible for the really extraordinary economic growth over the last decade of the United States compared to, say, the EU, which was a high tariff regime. And now we are joining the EU.
I believe that we've exported jobs to China. So
no,
you were touching on a lot of CCP talking points.
I think as a manufacturer who's kept jobs in the Midwest, I think I have a little more credibility in finance.
Gentleman's time has expired. Does the gentleman want something inserted in the record?
Let's be absolutely clear about what Joyce Beatty exposed in this hearing. The Treasury Secretary spent his testimony praising the value of economic growth in housing, then refused to release the affordable housing money Congress already appropriated. And when a member pressed him for a simple yes or no on whether he'd release it, he wouldn't even answer. Beatty made him own that refusal on the record, and then exposed a second pattern of stalling on a promise Treasury has now dragged out for years. Her subject is Community Development Financial Institutions, CDFIs, the mission-driven lenders that finance affordable housing and small business in communities banks often overlook. Beatty grounds it in a number. Nationwide, CDFIs finance more than 45,000 affordable homes. But there's a problem. Applications for the CDFI funds programs have been pending for almost a year or more. Aside from some administrative money, none of the fiscal year 25 program funds have been allocated. The previous fall, the CDFI fund had even issued a supplemental application to ensure the institutions complied with the administration's executive orders. And still, the money hasn't been dispersed. So Beatty asks the direct question. Are there plans to release the money so CDFIs can keep financing affordable housing? Yes or no? If yes, when? If no, why not? And here's where the exchange becomes a lesson in refusing to be filibustered. Bessent responds with bureaucratic fog. Treasury has been working to implement the programs as required by law, and upon apportionment of appropriated funds, it will be able to make outstanding awards. That's not a yes, and it's not a no. It's the sound of an answer without the substance of one. Beatty stops him. She tells him she abides by the chairman's rules, but she has rules too. He can say yes and then explain, or he can say no and tell her why, or he can decline to answer and she'll move on. What he cannot do is consume her time with a non-answer. When Bessent tries to keep going on his own terms, she draws the line that gives the clash its name. We are not going to do that with me. Not once. She says it twice firmly, because he keeps trying. And when he still won't give a yes or a no, she does the one thing that turns a dodge into a headline. She puts it on the record. Let the record show that he refuses to answer a question that sits squarely within his own authority. That's the heart of it. Bessent spent his testimony, as Beatty points out, invoking economic growth or security nearly a dozen times, arguing that growth strengthens housing and financial institutions. Then, given the chance to release the housing money already appropriated by law, he wouldn't even commit to a yes or no. Beatty didn't need to argue the contradiction. She simply forced him to demonstrate it in real time and made sure the transcript captured it. Then she pivots to a second stalled promise, and it's one with real symbolic weight, putting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. This isn't new. The process began in 2016. Beatty has raised it with a succession of Treasury secretaries, Jack Lew, Steve Mnuchin, Janet Yellen, and now Bessent. Jack Lew said it would take 4 years. It was scheduled for 2020, then backlogged, because, as every secretary says, it's a complex process, to 2028. Even the last Republican secretary, Mnuchin, ultimately said the effort was on target. So Beatty presses Bessent. Why is it no longer on target, and why isn't he personally engaged? Bessent's written answer to her, she notes, amounted to a few words calling it a complex process, which, as she says, isn't really an answer